Before we start today's video, check out our merch shop, linked in the description down below. Use code Ahsoka in all caps to get $7 off your order. May the Force be with you, and enjoy the vid.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. I hope you're all doing well, and in this video we have an exciting update for the Ahsoka series on Disney Plus as an overall whole here, kind of what it means, breaking it down for the future of not just this series, but also anticipation for the rest of the franchise, everything that's going on within the Mandoverse over on the streamer of Disney Plus, of course. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna hop right on into it, break it all down for you guys right now. Before we do though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. Okay, so in this video we are going to be taking a quick read from StarWarsNewsSet.com as an overall garnering source. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. So the Ahsoka series has been nominated for several Emmy awards, and really the overall Ahsoka and the Emmys push that didn't necessarily materialize as well is what their article is kind of reporting on here. So less than 2 months ago, they were back home from work while listening to one of their favorite industry podcasts when an ad had played saying, "Experience the epic Star Wars series Ahsoka on Disney Plus," or something to that extent as they read. It was for your consideration ad, essentially for the Emmys, trying to entice listeners of that podcast into voting for the Dave Filoni run series for the Emmys to get it nominated for many of those awards. Now, a transcendent experience also read an email ad acquired by Disney on thewarp.com. The company also held multiple panels with showrunner Dave Filoni, and the recent also stars Rosario Dawson and Hayden Christensen and the rest of the cast members and some of the crew, also probably because they realized that it was a weak year for TV overall on the streamer of Disney Plus, not just for A Galaxy Far, Far Away, of course. I think honestly this has been one of the stronger years for A Galaxy Far, Far Away, and they perhaps could have taken that advantage of the situation by selling us on some of the more unique aspects of the Disney Plus show of Ahsoka. I know it's from last year, technically 2023, but harnessing it and kind of riding that wave a little bit more, and also kind of ramping things up for season 2, it also feels as well. However, that uniqueness, the jump from animation into live action of both a character and the storyline, as well as Dave Filoni being the first-time showrunner after years at Lucasfilm, and all the different creative decisions and all the different kind of just plot decisions and the way that the Ahsoka series really turned out was mostly notorious for inside baseball fans, not the general Emmy voting audience, essentially. And it feels that not necessarily Ahsoka, it felt like it was more garnered to those diehard Star Wars fans and not the general audience, especially viewers that may be voting for Emmy awards as well. They really wanted that outstanding drama series nomination that both The Mandalorian and Andor got in the years previous, and also most likely another nomination for Hayden Christensen, something along the lines of best actor, an acting award, essentially, just to have him returning here in A Galaxy Far, Far Away a little bit more, even outside of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. He's also in talks for Ahsoka season 2, as we've covered and have discussed here on the channel as well. The Emmy nominations specifically were announced on Wednesday of last week at the time of recording and publishing this video, and they went home almost empty-handed, unfortunately. They had lobbied for some of the technical awards as well, though, however, such as special effects and things of that nature, and they were indeed nominated for visual effects, costumes, hairstyling, makeup, and sound editing. But you don't get the entire gang together for multiple FYC panels and events that if you're aiming for that, essentially. It's kind of a bit of a sad story. It feels like they kind of tried to ramp it up a little bit more and hype it up a little bit more, but they kind of fell flat on their face, essentially. Kind of as I was getting at there kind of before. Ahsoka, looking at it from an outside view as an overview, essentially, it is really indeed a show I feel that is more garnered towards more of a niche kind of audience, essentially. You really have to be a big Star Wars fan to really enjoy the show and to really love it. And then, as I've also kind of discussed and talked about here on the channel as well, it's not necessarily one of those shows that you have to know every bit of Star Wars media, essentially, but it definitely helps. You're able to jump into the Ahsoka show kind of empty-handed, not not having known much about the franchise of A Galaxy Far, Far Away, not having seen, you know, any of the animated shows that any of these characters have appeared in before, such as Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars The Clone Wars, but it definitely does take away from that experience as a whole. Also with this whole idea, as I had also mentioned, of that many of the Emmy voting kind of audience isn't necessarily nerds. Essentially, they're film nerds, but not necessarily you know, Star Wars nerds per se here. Exactly, they overspent and clearly miscalculated their chances, it seems, also for the fact of that Lucasfilm and Disney have put money into these panels and into these different interviews as well. Interestingly enough, though, however, not many people in the community noticed, which is why they can now kind of claim victory by flashing those 5 nominations, as I had mentioned, for the visual effects, the costumes, hairstyling, makeup, and sound editing. Of course, it isn't to take away from any of the other nominations or awards that they could have been up for. Those are all amazing awards, quite honestly. Visual effects, definitely. Costumes, 110%. Hairstyling, Hayden Christensen, of course, was looking pretty amazing. The makeup and you know, all the makeup that they do on Rosario Dawson and her character of Ahsoka, don't even get me started on that. And then, of course, the sound editing was very much so. It felt a little bit more unique compared to other Star Wars shows. I think even at the end, when you're comparing it to that, like when every time they're in the world between worlds, there's these sound cues and effects that you kind of pick up on and kind of notice there as well. So essentially, why is this important? Why do we care about this? First of all, thanks so much for watching this video up until this point. Let's get to the more interesting stuff. Why do we care about this? Why is this important? As I had mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is important. These Emmy nominations kind of is kind of like a green light, red light kind of scenario for Lucasfilm. Like, how is it being kind of perceived and taken in by the fans for one thing, but also from the critics as well for another. Unfortunately, in the day and age that we live in, especially with the entertainment industry, it feels that you know, big studio names, essentially, especially like Marvel Studios, by which, if you are a Marvel fan, we have our Marvel channel linked in the description down below, or like Lucasfilm, Disney, Pixar, they're going to go after the critics. They want to get the critics' approval, essentially, and the praise from the critics much rather than the fans, unfortunately, and that's so that they can kind of stick that sticker on there and kind of scenario and say, oh, but the critics like it from Rotten Tomatoes, and kind of push it out to the fans, and the fans will look at it and see, you know, kind of what their hope is that, oh, if Rotten Tomatoes says it's good, then it's probably good, and I'm going to go check it out. And they kind of also base their opinions off of that, almost like as an influence, essentially. And I think we're also at a turning point of where fans out there, you know, both in and out of the Star Wars franchise, are now looking at those kind of critics and those reviews and kind of paying them no never mind, essentially. They're going after these shows, these projects, these movies, whatever the case may be, with an open mind and with their own kind of interpretation without any other influence, which is honestly a beautiful thing and something I think that we really do need. I think if for anything, maybe it could leave a bit of an influence on how Lucasfilm and Disney take on Ahsoka Season 2, with maybe a different approach of maybe making it something a little bit more of a wider audience interpretation, like something that not your average Joe can kind of walk into and pick up on and enjoy it, actually, and not have so many Easter eggs and so many references, essentially, like Season 1 did, essentially. Not saying that's a bad thing by any means, though, however. Anyway, guys, this all being said, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Now, of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.